Okay, I think we might have been on the laptop. Mike.
So I'll read this statement again. I am sad to report to the residents of the town of Underhill the passing of former select board member Peter Duval. Peter was preparing to go skiing and was walking up Mountain Road when he fell ill and subsequently passed away. My deepest condolences go out to the Duval family. His intelligence and sense of duty will be remembered. While Peter and I may have disagreed and viewed issues with a different lens, I think he may have agreed with me that it is healthy to have different perspectives on topics, especially in a democracy. It is also important that we remain respectful, even though we disagree or may disagree. On town meeting day, I had a chance to say hi to Peter as we both were leaving. Yet we had a brief conversation, and I'm glad we shared that moment together. Again, my thoughts are with the Duval family tonight during this difficult time.
And I'll add, on behalf of the entire select board, we send our deepest sympathies to the Duval family, and we are deeply sad for them and the whole community.
Thank you.
With that, we will continue on with the prepared agenda. There is an opening public comment.
Excuse me, Bob, before you continue, your cameras are off. We could hear you perfectly though.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, or whoever you.
No, wait a minute here. Something's not going right. What was that?
Perfect, thank you.
All right.
We got video, we got microphone.
Rough start here, but
It's opening day, Donna. You know, I'm sure there's a Red Sox game on somewhere. I can assure you that Brad was not watching the game. He was here paying attention. With that, we will go to the opening public comment period. I don't see anyone remote, so we'll go here to in person. Oh, Mr. Parker Ripley's here.
for public comment.
I got a public comment.
Okay, please come
Come on
up.
up.
Where would you like me?
In one of
Wherever
those
you'd like,
chairs.
yep.
It's perfect.
I would like to go on the record, just thank Russ and the highway crew for all they've done this winter and this mud season. The roads are in good shape and their hard work is not going unnoticed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, here, here.
I
Is
didn't
it,
tell him to say that.
Sure.
understand the truck is. Is there any other public comment? If not, we will move right into the next item, which is the Sand Hill Cemetery update and planned events. Mr. Belton's here.
And Mrs.
And Mrs. Belton, I'm sorry, it's like Penske's pole. Is it Pesky's pole at Fenway? The pole here is blocking my view.
Brad suggested, and we feel it's a very good time to come back and revisit, especially since we have a new select board and there were members not present last time. So I'm Kurt Belton.
Susan Belton.
And what we'd like to do is update you with what happened since the last meeting, February 13th, that we attended. And then get your opinion about where we should go from here. So we had we made a short presentation. I made a short presentation kind of extemporaneously because Brad said, oh, Kurt's here. He could probably speak at town meeting. So I spoke for a few minutes at town meeting. And a few people came up to us to speak to us after that. And we had two other people who wanted to get together with us about the cemetery. And it grew to two more people and then another. So we ended up with 8 people at our meeting
That's
on
great.
March 14th.
Yeah.
And we had an agenda prepared. We went about an hour and a half. Came up with some roles for each of us to take and jobs for each of us to do. And I sent Brad a copy of the minutes, which were basically an extraction from the agenda that Sue and I had come up with. So if you're interested in that, we can submit that as a document for the select board to review
Sure.
sometime in the future. So that meeting happened. We all had some jobs to do. Sue and I started pulling together some names for volunteers to participate in our 3 proposed work days that came out of this meeting. And the first one is going to be May 23rd, which is Community Service Day from MMU. And we have,
It's a Friday.
it's a Friday, right? And it's part of the advisory community service project that Bob had brought up when we last spoke. And I was aware of it, but that was good reinforcement. I contacted Anton Kelsey, and then he gave me a contact at MMU, and we have the possibility of getting 2 advisories, which means about 20 kids, for about 2 hours on the 23rd with adult supervision and no power tools. So no chainsaws or anything like that. The other date we set was a community work day, which we'll work to get volunteers for the 21st of June. And then the third one is August 9th, that was mentioned at the last select board meeting. And that's with the Vermont Old Cemetery Association. And we need at least 12 able-bodied folks to have them teach us how to restore stones. And they said that they historically, in situations like that, work days, and they do almost every weekend in the summer at some cemetery in Vermont, $5,000 to $20,000 worth of stone repair. Professionals charge a lot of money to do that. And then we've also solicited estimates for fencing. And as a matter of fact, I got in touch with Jet while he was still in Puerto Rico.
Oh, cool.
I checked out his website and called the number,
Right?
and we only got dropped like 2 times. He said that would be expected to be happening, and and he called me right back. So we have some estimates for fencing. Nate Sullivan pulled together estimates for Surepack and mortar, and also provided some logistical ideas. The fact that he's a farmer and has tons of equipment is a really good thing. And then also on Tuesday, we met with Don Toby, our town tree warden, and we walked the cemetery. And we marked some trees, some for trimming, some for taking down. So, Sue, if that's
Sure.
enough of the history of what we did?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm sort of the numbers person, so I pulled together what's a preliminary budget, trying to pull together what this whole project's gonna be. We have quickly concluded that it's gonna be a multi-year project, okay? No way we can get all, it's in pretty rough shape. There's many, many stones that need repair. The fencing, because of tree falls, is virtually destroyed. It was in bad shape to begin with. And what we didn't realize was how many trees was recommended to take down. So that very quickly became the priority, because you don't put up a fence when a tree's gonna fall on it. And you don't fix stones if the tree's gonna fall on it. So anyway, what I'm gonna propose is that we try to pull together this multi-year plan to include some numbers, so that you can massage as you will, to meet your needs with the budget. But we just thought that might be a good place to start. The tree removal is a big concern for us, because there's some trees that a volunteer can easily handle, with some chainsaw expertise. There's some trees that will need an elevated level of service. Maybe the town personnel, maybe a hired person, company, whatever. And we would want some advice from you about that, what we could do. The very biggest concern is that there are some rather large trees. One of them happens to be right smack in the middle of the cemetery. And we're very worried about how we're gonna remove that. It was recommended to be removed because it's aging and already
It's already dropping big limbs.
dropping big limbs. So the big challenge is that not every tree that's threatening to fall on the cemetery is on cemetery property. So there's that struggle. There's two neighbors that border the cemetery. We feel like somebody needs to have a conversation with those people, not just about the trees, but the work that we're doing, so they know what's going on. But it would be very helpful to get somebody from the town to come up with us at some point and help us or make the decision about which trees come out, how we're gonna do it. And at some point in time, that would be very helpful. But if, all that said, we can get quotes for tree removal, but I kind of feel like it's putting the cart before the horse before we know how many trees need to be removed. I also know that I think the town's gonna be doing some tree removal at the bridge, right? What is it?
Not as of now.
Not-
I'm
okay.
Still checking that out, but
Okay,
I'd be
all
more
right,
than happy to go up there again with Don.
great.
Take a look at it with
Yep.
him.
Yep.
And then we can go from there. I just want to ensure, I did the boundary survey, so.
Yep. Yep.
I want to ensure I'll be able to tell you which side.
Great.
We
Yeah.
also couldn't find one corner.
Yeah, we couldn't find one corner. It's
Okay,
got
it's
buried.
there.
Yeah, I'm
We
sure.
figured it was.
But anyway, I'm more than happy to go with Don and we can check that out. And then possibly at a future select board meeting, we could sit down and look at your
Yep.
notes and then
Yeah.
maybe decide on one thing to do to use the money up for this. We have money to use before July 1.
Right.
Do you know off the top of your head what that number is?
Yeah, it was just short of
3,600,
600.
Yeah.
34, 30 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have it right off the
I'm
top
just
of
gonna
my
say
head.
3,600.
Okay.
And
So-
that's what has to be, it should be spent before?
By
Yeah.
the 31st.
Yeah, by the
Okay.
31st, and then it'll be replenished from
Got
the
it.
budget this year. But I think we should,
Hmm.
I'm more than happy to get together with you and just try to figure out a priority, and then we can come back at the next meeting and say, get authority.
That
to
was-
spend the money.
That was kind of a flip-flop on our part. We were thinking fence was kind of important, but we realized that the trees were the priority. And so we also wanted to pass by you that we want to put out to the public via media, essentially Front Porch Forum and Mountain Gazette, solicitation for volunteers. That's the first thing. But also, we would like to put information out there periodically about the cemetery and what we're doing with the cemetery, just for public information and to keep public awareness up. And we want to know if you would prefer that we preview whatever we put out there with you before we do that, or could we do that through Brad, who's available every day?
Yeah, I think just if you wanted to put something up, like here's some pictures from our workday, here's what we did. We
Yeah.
can easily put a place on our website for you.
Uh-huh.
And we could, and Amanda or I could post that. I
Cool.
think that's.
So I think, thank you for everything you're doing, and I'm not trying to derail anything that you're doing whatsoever, but I think one of the next steps, because I'm a visual person, that I think it would be wise to have a site visit for the select board so that we can put eyes on.
That was on our agenda to ask you if you wanted to do that.
It's not that we talk to each other before the meeting at all, but I think it'd be wise to sometimes just go up and take a look and see, and maybe we can do that after Brad's kind of done the bird dogging, if you want to call it that, type of thing to see like what's up, and then, what the challenges that we may face. And then, the board can then have kind of a better idea. We've done field trips before, and,
Okay.
Great.
that's not something that's out of the realm of possibility. So I think it would be beneficial for me. I'm not going to speak for everybody on the board, but I think it might be beneficial for the rest of everybody to kind of have a bird's eye view of what we're up against. And then we can try to make more informed decisions. So I guess I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to derail,
Not at
getting
all.
into the minutia,
perfect.
but I think awareness is like key for everyone to like understand like what we're up against.
Right.
And I was thinking even the note that was in the packet here that you guys wrote up is a great, I don't know if you wrote it or, but even just this exact thing, I think posted to Front Porch Forum, I think would be really helpful for people who are interested or just to even know what you guys are up to and what's going on. I don't know if it was a summary or who wrote the.
This here, that you want to get permission to publish.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think that's,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I think that would be a perfect.
Rather than try to chase us down, 5 select board members with full-time jobs and then some,
Yeah,
it would be great to coordinate through Brad.
Yeah.
And
okay,
he can
Yeah.
advise you, but you've got a sense of what should be up on the
Yeah.
porch forum, so hopefully that
Mhm.
interface would be minimal.
So regarding field trip, Sue and I are pretty flexible.
yeah.
So, not joint wise, but
Yeah.
time wise.
Well, we will discuss, we won't discuss now, but we'll find out like when the board is available.
Yeah.
The whole,
Okay.
because if we all get together, we have to call like a special meeting.
Yeah.
And we'll work out those logistics, somewhat offline, kind of online, but not right now.
Okay.
Towards the end of tonight's meeting, we will have a moment where we can everybody can kind of look at their calendars and
Yeah.
see what makes sense.
That's great. That's awesome.
It would make sense to do it in conjunction with a select board meeting. We could do it just maybe in a half an hour ahead, or we could just go at 6. It's light out. We can talk about
Six a.m.
That's a great idea.
6 a.m.
So
I'm
the,
unavailable.
the last point, I think, because you
Yeah.
did the finances,
Yeah.
would be, would we coordinate with you or through Brad or directly with Russ if we could use help from the road department?
So those requests would have to come through the board.
Through the board, okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, it's going to be apparent from the site visit what the needs will be.
Right. And so
yeah.
what the board will have to balance
Yeah.
is that we need to know like what is the scope of what you're looking at.
Mhm.
We're going to have to have a conversation. I'm envisioning that the board will have to have a conversation with Russ because Russ already has a plan for what this spring and summer is going to look like in construction season. So
Yeah, right.
he may not have the availability of being able, we may have the tools, to do this type of project, but he, I'm sure already has a plan in place as far as like what he's going to be able to do. And he may have a whole, and these guys do like to take a vacation now and again, especially after a long snow season. So
Oh
it's just like, we have to kind of balance that all out.
Okay.
So,
But-
and- yeah, so that's where I think it's some kind of a long-term plan, if we can describe what the major issues are and describe what we think is the workload, so to speak, and try to spread it out. I think if we describe the work as we see it, it would be I think it would help you folks to
Yeah, and then
Makes
Russ could figure out what he
Yeah.
could do.
what it can do
Yeah.
and can't do. And that will drive what we do.
And what
you
we
know,
have to
well-
spend money on.
Yeah.
Well,
Or you-
I'm envisioning that we will make a site visit now that we're somewhat, I don't know if we're in the middle of mud season or we're just getting to the beginning of it, but I'm thinking that sometime soon where we're not like going through like ankle deep mud up there.
It's
that
not
we might
bad.
We might be able to go up there
Yeah.
sometime relatively soon and, put eyes on it.
Yeah.
It was very firm.
Yeah.
We were up there Tuesday. It
Yeah.
was good.
And I went up yesterday.
And Sue went up yesterday and did some pictures and some video, and we accessed it via the River Road.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll get
Well,
that.
you did.
Suppose-
I went up Sand Hill, the
Right.
Sand Hill side,
Right.
yeah.
And before you jump in,
Yeah.
if trees are the critical thing to come down first, it may be something for you to be thinking about which trees should go first. And if there's 3,600 in the budget for fiscal year 25 that we have right now,
Yeah.
identify the critical tree or trees And maybe that becomes the plan for use of that.
I think
a good
that's,
chunk of those funds.
we're not gonna be comfortable making that decision. I think it's gonna be a town decision. Whatever gets decided, we can work around that, in terms of the, stone repair. If we think that tree's coming down, we're not gonna fix that stone, we're gonna fix that stone. So there's plenty of work to do.
If Don's already walked it and
Yeah, he
with
has.
you and marked
Yeah.
it, I'll
Yeah.
walk it with him again.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Cool.
And keeping in mind that some can be done by volunteers.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you very
both
much.
Yeah.
so much
Thank you.
for
Thank
your
you.
time and attention. Yeah, thank you.
And we'll be in touch. We'll figure out who's on first and make a plan.
If you did want to share your budget numbers, that would be helpful.
I can give you
Share it
partial
with Brad.
numbers.
If
Yeah,
you want it, like, he can
let's get a
share it.
plan together and we'll talk about it
Okay.
next week.
But that'll be very helpful.
Mhm.
So the next item on the agenda is to consider the dump truck tire purchase by Russ.
Realized that was gonna be so quick.
Surprise, surprise.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I do just like to take just a moment, since it is a night for recognition. Some of you may know, some of you may not. Parker is the service manager at Allegiance Trucks. So when I compliment during a meeting how quick we get trucks repaired and in and taken care of, that's because of Parker and his crew.
Thank you.
So he's a key part of this town as well, so just, that'd be good. So yeah, after our last meeting with discussion of running new tires on the front of the trucks during the winter season, I did get some quotes from 3 local vendors, which you can see. So our recommendation would be to purchase from Pete's Tire Barn, but with the distance between when we would need them, I think we ought to hold off until at least June to see where our budget lands out for truck maintenance. And then if we get to June and we've got some money left in it, then that would be a good time to purchase, because we won't need them until November, October, November.
They have them in inventory all the time.
They normally have some in stock. They might not have them all, but it doesn't take them about a week to get. So.
Okay.
Do you know about, oh, sorry.
I really appreciate the comparison shopping. Are all of these 3 the same kind of tire, the same
Yes.
brand and the same?
Same
okay.
brand, same model, yes.
I was just gonna ask how much is left in the truck maintenance.
I have that.
Okay.
Jennifer
Just thinking about
gave
how much runway we've got till the end of June, beginning of June.
We currently have, our budget is 62,000, we've
Mhm.
spent 41.5,
Okay. All right,
so
all
it's about 20 grand left.
right, so fingers crossed, there's plenty by the time we.
I don't think so.
That's right.
And yeah, that's all, I don't know, if you,
All right,
I
do we
mean,
need a
if
motion
you want
on
to
this?
approve it and then
Prove it based on how things look in June, then you're all set to purchase.
So a motion would be in order to authorize that purchase. So I'd entertain someone wanting to make that motion at this time.
All right, so I move that we authorize Russ to go ahead with the purchase for new truck steer tires from Pete's Tire Barn in Williston for the amount for 10 tires of $7,585.80. Should we make it for $8,000 if there's price change between not to exceed $8,000?
So there's a motion to purchase tires to not to exceed 8 from Pete's Tire Barn in Williston. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
We're gonna make that contingent on funds available in the budget.
I'll say mid-June or
In the
something.
maintenance
Yeah.
budget.
Yes.
Just to complete that.
Contingent on funds being available within the line item for maintenance of the vehicles. Everybody clear on the question?
Sounds good.
Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed with a nay? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you. Appreciate the support.
Next.
Is that it for you tonight, Russ?
Yeah,
That's
That's
it?
it.
Okay.
that's it. You don't have anything, right? That's all you asked me now. You don't have anything for the meeting, do you?
It's close to the end of the year, Russ.
It's kind of like when I was on ski patrol and somebody was hurt, you put a blanket on, you say, "You're not cold, are you?" Then you'd have to break the blanket. Sorry.
Well, next item on the agenda, we're ahead of schedule, Brad.
I see that.
Review and sign the official warning for the May 6, 2025 special town meeting and review and sign the final resolution of necessity for Bridge Number 7 replacement bond vote.
So again, I take full responsibility for screwing this up the first time, but everything I would refrain. I just want to preface this whole thing by refraining from saying that the bond passed last time. I would say the bond had good support last time based on the vote, but it did not pass because it was not a legal vote. Okay, I just want to make sure we have that in our mind when we're talking with people and say, well, the bond passed last time. Well, it didn't really pass. It was supported by the voters, but now we're going to make it hopefully pass.
Okay.
So
Legally
officially.
binding.
So, I went over with the attorney, and I knew a lot of this way back. And as I said, things were just a little bit too fast paced around here, and I just dropped the ball. But so I put together a little cookbook here, bond notification procedure. And so the public informational hearing must be held within 10 days of the bond vote. This is different from an annual meeting where the legislature has extended the time frame for the informational hearing to be 30 days, within 30 days. But this is not an annual meeting. This is a special town meeting Australian vote. So by having the informational hearing on May 1st, we're compliant with the statute. So the publication requirements is for 3 weeks. And as I said, with the last publication, no more than 10 days and no fewer than 5 days prior to the vote. So if we have the vote on May 6th, the published dates would be April 26th, May 1st, or no, I'm sorry. That will be April 16th, April 23rd, April 30th, and I would like to do April 9th as well. So I don't want to, what's that?
May.
April 9th.
Oh, April.
April 9th. So May 6th is the vote. So April 9th, I'd like to do all 4 of those. And then, so if you adopt the warning tonight, we have 10 days to post the warning in 5 public places. So this is where the higher bar goes for notification, right? So town meeting, a normal annual town meeting, 3 public places. It's going to be hard to find 5 public places. I've done it before for an ordinance, but the possibilities are Poorhouse Pies, Wells Quarter Market, Jacobs Family Market, Town Hall, the Food Sharing Shed, and possibly the 2 churches.
Library?
So library does not count in the town of Jericho.
You do
So
the
this-
fire station.
That's not a public place.
It's not a public meeting. It's not a public building.
Has to be a public building.
Okay.
So yeah, it's all locked up. Nobody's locked. If you had a place to post notices that were viewed by the public, that would be anyway.
Can we post at the school?
It's in Jericho. Oh,
Maybe
at this
the
school. Yeah, that's a possibility. I could check and see.
I'm trying to think if they have a board out front. Yeah, they do?
They do?
I should know.
Okay,
how
that's a
often
good
it is,
suggestion.
but yeah.
Good suggestion. I'm gonna write that down.
Post office?
No,
They won't
well,
let you.
even though we own the post office in the center, you're not allowed to post anything that's not post office business.
Okay.
So I will check on school. Good suggestion, Patty.
Mhm.
As many times. You're making it just like, wait a minute. Right.
So I talked with Sherry, and since there's only 2 questions, we'll print the ballots right in-house here, and we'll just do 2 separate ballots. One for the chart question, one for the bond question. That way it's easy to separate,
Mhm.
and those will be hand counted. So that'll save a significant, when you do the ballot, when you do the actual machine ballot, that has to get sent out way ahead of time. It's quite a cost. This way, if we run short of ballots, we just print some more right here. So I'm asking for this after talking with Sherry, but so typically we send out a postcard mailing before the annual meeting saying, the town reports are available, the annual meeting's on this day, informational meetings on this day. I suggest that this meeting is so close to the annual meeting that we do another postcard mailing, just explaining where people can find information. So this extra step would cost us, it's not required by statute, about $350. So Sherry has a budget for this. She always figures a one-off special town meeting for every year, just in case. There's been times where, this is way in the past, where the budget wasn't on the annual meeting warning. So they had to actually have a special town meeting after. That was way before any of our times, but
I think that seems warranted, just in the interest of making sure people know that it's happening, increasing turnout, that it,
So,
especially since she has money in the budget for it, I think.
so is that, what do you thought? Is that it?
that is it. And just the one thing is, so I prepared the resolution, or the attorney has prepared the resolution of necessity. It's the same document you've signed back at the annual meeting. The only difference is it has the May 1st at 7 p.m. for the informational hearing, right?
Thank you.
So Charles mentioned that she may have a conflict. That's okay, I think, so long, we want to make sure we have a quorum.
Yeah.
I did check on that, and it's important, if we don't have a quorum and that doesn't go off, we don't have the vote.
Oh, geez.
So it is very,
So I see that, thank you. So I see that we have a couple things to vote on. One is to approve the resolution as prepared in the packet. 2 is to approve a postcard mailing. And is there a third thing that we need
well,
to do?
wait, so the two things I think you should consider first are the resolution of necessity, as duly warned at this meeting and in your packet, and then the official warning for the special town meeting on May 6th, which will be held here
The
at 7 a.m.
the official
warning.
warning meeting on May 6th.
Yep, it's for the special town meeting.
Okay, so I got 3 things. I got, 1 is to approve the resolution of necessity. 2, to approve an official warning meeting date of May 6th at 6 or 7 p.m., right, here.
7 p.m. here.
And then 3, to approve a special postcard mailing to be sent out.
Right, the special meeting's on May 6th.
It's May 1st. The election is May 6th.
The thing is, I would recommend take it one at a time, make a motion to approve the resolution of necessity.
I am.
Okay,
So I just want to be clear, I'm going to repeat it back to you.
Yep.
1, we're going to approve a resolution of necessity. 2, an official warning meeting to be held on May 1st at 7 p.m.
no. So you need to approve the resolution of necessity,
You got
right?
that?
You got that? The next is to consider and approve the official warning for the special town meeting of May 6th. And that's it. We don't need to talk about
So we're-
informational hearing. It's in the,
The special town meeting is the vote date?
is the vote.
Okay.
Special town
I'm sorry.
meeting is a vote.
I'm sorry, all right.
So forget about the informational hearing for
Okay.
right now. It's in the warning.
Got it.
It's in both warnings.
Okay.
So we're proving,
To consider and approve the town meeting to be held on May 6th.
to approve the warning for a special town meeting on May 6th, 2025.
I'm going to drop anchor again.
Okay.
say that one more time
Okay,
in
sure.
very slow
Sure,
sentences.
sure. So we got the resolution, you're all set on that.
Correct.
Okay, the next one would be, you move to approve the official warning for a special
Wait.
town meeting.
Hold on.
I'm sorry,
Official town,
no, official warning
yep,
for a special town meeting
yep.
to be held on May 6, 2025. That's it.
So move to approve an official warning for a special town meeting to be held on May 6, 2025.
You got it.
Okay, so then the third thing, right, is to approve a postcard mailing not to exceed
You
400.
don't really need to approve that. It's in Sherry's budget. It's under $1,000. You could just say you support a mailing. But if you'd like to make a motion, that's fine.
Maureen likes to make.
Okay.
She said, every time I get a chance to make a motion, I want to do it.
Hands up.
And I'm ballparking the 350, okay? I'm ballparking at 350. I think it's a moot point because it's under $1,000. So
Got it.
Speaking of moot points, I just want to ask a question.
Sure.
Is there ever an option for us to pay a fee or do something to avoid having to get out of that we didn't warn for 3 weeks? We didn't warn on it.
no such
There's-
thing. So
There's
we're,
no way for us to get out of
no,
that.
no. So many school votes, you'd be surprised, aren't warned properly. Many municipalities make mistakes. And many school boards make mistakes. But we're going to do it right because if we're going to a bond bank or we're
Yeah.
going to a local bank,
Yeah.
they need to basically write us a certification that we did the procedure correctly.
Okay.
So this is the only way out.
Fair question though. So be nice. Yes.
Well, I certainly, before being here, certainly have had the like, wait a minute, didn't I just vote on that?
Yeah, well, so it'd be kind of disingenuous to pay a fee because if it wasn't done lawfully, we're that's just not right.
Okay.
So
All
we're
right.
gonna give it every shot. I'm 100% confident that the voters will support this
Yeah.
again.
All right.
So,
Ready, Maureen?
I think I'm
Here
ready.
we're gonna go.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I'll make the motion that we approve a resolution of necessity as presented by Brad for this special town meeting
Or for the replacement of bridge number 7.
for the replacement of bridge number 7.
I second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, are you ready for the question? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed with a nay. Motion carries 4-0. So far, so good, Brad. Second thing, we want to move to have an official warning.
Approve the official.
Approve a special, move to have an official special town meeting to be held on May 6, 2025,
And to approve the official warning.
and then approve the official warning. And is there a second? All right. Is there any discussion? Any, ready for the question?
Mhm.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed with a nay. Motion carries 4-0. And it's going to be the consensus of the select board that we approve a special mailing to be sent out.
Yes.
Yes.
And then also, in addition, I want to make sure that we have on our website a page explaining all of the things that we're asking for here. Same goes for the
Similar-
truck.
Similar to what we have done in the past.
Exactly. So I will put up the same documents, the bridge inspection, the cost estimate, the plans. And then I would say same goes for the truck. If you could write up an explanation, I would highly suggest, since explaining why this is out of cycle.
So you, and that's fine, I'm sure that can get done. The
Absolutely.
question I have is that we are, when we have this special meeting, should we dedicate it to discuss both items, or should we say like from 7 to 7:30, we're gonna talk about the bridge, and from 7:30 to 8? Or are we just gonna say, you know what, if anybody comes here with a question, fire, with whether you have a bridge question or a truck question, you know what I mean? Like, are we gonna?
I think since the warning has both questions, I would recommend just having the informational meeting. I would recommend an hour. I know it's kind of, we did a half hour last time, but it worked out. We read the documents. This time you may want to use that extra half hour to explain some truck stuff. I would do it in conjunction, and that way, if anyone has a question within that hour regarding either.
That it's not close to the
Right.
conversation.
Yeah.
Would Dan Mans be there
Yes,
to, again,
I'll
to
ask
kind
him
of
to be there.
moderate the,
Yeah.
okay.
But I know it's a bummer because if nobody shows up, we sit there for an hour, but I think we can, even for the record, just
Maybe I'll-
explaining, exactly what we did before, the resolution, the bridge inspection, the process, all of that. So
And I think given the questions we got for last meeting about vehicles, I think you should be prepared to do a full presentation on our equipment.
We've got our pictures taken of all of our equipment.
We'll get together. Monday, maybe, because David's out of school and I'm gonna take the day off, so maybe if the stars perfectly align, maybe we could get together Monday and do that.
So we do have to, there are those documents are in that folder, Bob.
Yep.
I don't know if we want to sign them at the end, but please don't leave without signing them. And for Dan's name, we're just gonna write absent.
Showers and chairs to make sure that we don't forget.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, so let me see.
so that was
what's
fun,
happening.
Brad. Thanks
That
for
was
helping
fun.
out with that.
Yeah, it's great fun. Won't make the mistake again.
That's all right. I know you've been parked across the street like you're supposed to. so-
Right, I have been. Got my camera
Yep.
blind.
But now we're 10 minutes ahead of schedule.
Now we're 10 minutes in schedule.
You're so efficient, Brad. See how that works out,
So
The next thing is, are we good with this? On
We are.
number 7, so we can move on to the Harvest Crossing Vermont Community Development Extension.
yeah, so, as we know, we're pre-awarded an implementation grant for the affordable housing project. And before a final grant is awarded, we have to do these kind of pre-grant agreement award conditions. Unfortunately, we're not in a place where we can do those. They don't have approval on the project. They don't have their state permits in place. So basically, the deadline is May 1st, 2025. I've talked with Vermont Community Housing and Development. They have stated that, they totally understand. They suggest that you give me the authority to request a new deadline of November 1st. We may even need to extend it again. So, this is a memo Dave Cliff prepared. I tweaked it a little bit, but basically at the end, he just suggested that you give me the authority to officially request this extension.
So I move that we officially give Brad the authority to request that extension. Is there a second?
Second,
Any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor of granting Brad the authority to request an extension, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed with a nay. Motion carries 4-0.
Excellent. Okay,
Anything else?
that's it for that.
Well, this is the second time this evening that we get to talk with Mr. Parker Ripley. And Parker, as many of you know, is our town forest fire warden. And we have some other town officials that we may have to reappoint tonight. But I have a form here that the state of Vermont would like us to sign, authorizing Parker to be our forest fire warden. I highly recommend that we do that. So with that, I'm going to move that we approve Parker to continue to be our forest fire warden with his term to expire on June 30th, 2030.
second.
Any discussion?
The only thing is, if he didn't take it, he'd have to change his voicemail on his phone. So I mean, you have to do it.
If there isn't any other comment?
Thank
If you're
you.
ready- if
Yeah,
you're
thank
ready-
you for what you
if you're
do
ready.
and for being willing to do it for another year,
It's a volunteer
or
job.
another 5 years, I'm sorry.
5 years.
Mhm.
It's a volunteer job, and we all appreciate Parker. There is a place for you to sign on that. If you could sign it before you go, that way we don't have to track you down.
So all those in favor of appointing Parker to serve until 2030, June 30th, 2030, as the town forest fire warden, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed with a nay. Motion carries 4-0.
Geez, how old will you be then? 27?
All right. Is there other town official appointments, Brad?
Yes, let me guide us through that. So I think I provided a memo here of everybody that's up for reappointment.
Can you give that to me just so I don't have to leave it? So we have, in order, we'll go,
No, it's not.
So I think I would just, along the tree theme here,
Mhm.
I would, let's do these 1 years first. So
In-
Animal Control Officer, Jennifer Silpy Katz, 1 year term, which would expire March 2026. I didn't ask her if she wanted to do it. I was assuming she's up for it.
She
well,
is-
can we just go by the,
You could
Go by the
do the
memo.
whole slate if you want, as presented in the packet or whatever you want to do.
I like that. idea.
That's
Don't
really
do
good.
that.
Should we do a separate one for the new appointment or just do it
Yeah,
all as?
I would do a separate one for the new appointment. I would just, for the record, I would do the animal control
Well,
zoning
I'll-
officer, those separate.
Watch this.
Okay, go for it.
I'm gonna move that the select board reappoint for the Development Review Board, Brian Barsh, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing, Birch, for a 3-year term which will expire March of 2028. Matt Chapek for a 3-year term which will expire March of 2028. Mark Hamlin, the alternate for a 1-year term which will expire March of 2026. Penny Miller, alternate, a 1-year term which will expire March of 2026. On the Planning Commission, Roy Dumfries, a 4-year term which will expire March of 2029. Bart Johnson, a 4-year term which will expire March of 2029. Jeff Markowski, a 4-year term which will expire March of 2029. On the Conservation Commission, Patrick Lampier, a 4-year term which will expire March of 2029. Karen McKnight, a 4-year term which will expire March of 2029. A new appointment, Scott Deo, a 4-year term which will expire in March of 2029. On the Energy Committee, Graham Chapik, a 3-year term which will expire in March of 2028. Ravi Para? Again, I apologize. A 3-year term which will expire in March of 2028. On the Recreation Committee, Gunnar Johnson, a 3-year term which will expire March of 2028. Rob Williams, a 3-year term which will expire March of 2028. Highway Infrastructure and Equipment Committee,
Oh, sorry, I changed the page.
Russ Clark for a 1-year term which will expire March of 2026. Clark Elliott, a 1-year term which will expire March of 2026. Andy Rowe, a 1-year term which will expire March of 2026. Mike Wiesel, a 1-year term which will expire March of 2026. Animal Control Officer Jennifer Silpy Katz, a 1-year term which will expire March of 2026. Zoning Administrator Brad Poland, in an interim capacity until a replacement is found, a 3-year term which will expire May of 2028. Parker Ripley, we just took action on, but we'll do it again. Parker Ripley, a 5-year term which will expire in, this says July of 2030, but I believe it's actually June.
It's July.
Okay, July 2030. And Tree Warden Don Toby, finishing it up with a 1-year term which will expire in March of 2026. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the cast of characters?
I thank all those who are willing to serve our town. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The only question I have is Brad, I'm the zoning administrator. I thought we had pulled you off.
No, you can't do that. No. So you have to have an active zoning administrator. We cannot operate without one. So I'm hanging in there. So I appreciate your email
Okay.
today to regional planning.
We need to push that
Oh, I understand. Yeah,
forward
I
fast.
understand. Yeah, I understand.
Back to
But no, I've
Southfield
been,
is
I've
really
been,
annoying.
yeah, so nobody's
No
gonna
sl-
take
No
that.
slam on you.
No, but nobody's gonna take that position. And again, I found it would be very disruptive, given, we had a month and a half here trying to get ready for town meeting, trying to move this whole room upstairs, move it back downstairs, paint halls. Larry just got in. It would have been way too disruptive to have tried to train someone during that time.
Well, reel this back in. So we're actively still looking to have a zoning person,
Yes,
and we are all aware, and if we're not, we will become aware of the dangers of you wearing too many hats.
no, I understand that too.
Well said, thank you.
But we need to, definitely that position needs to be filled by law.
I'm gonna start pushing every week
Okay.
for an update, because if there's nobody pushing, it's not moving through the regional planning commission. So I'm gonna keep poking them.
As only you can. Any
then,
any other discussion on the cast of appointees?
I did include a little memo here from Scott Dale, who's up on Downs Road.
Great. Any other discussion? Are you ready for this question? All those in favor of the previously named appointees, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed with a nay. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, everyone that is reappointed. I appreciate your willingness to serve. Okay, next. Right.
Hang on just a second.
We can hold on, we're ahead of schedule.
Okay, I just want to make sure he gets the one at the bottom one. Yep, and
Oh, here.
right there.
I got you.
Before we start cleanup day, I have to say how much I like the poster for it.
I thought it was awesome.
It's a great poster.
This is like one of the best. It's pretty cute with the crows there in the tree and then the squirrels. I thought it was-
Everybody's doing their part.
It was really nice.
The thought from Kate, Casey Hill.
Oh, yeah?
Thank you,
All right,
Parker.
thank you, Parker.
Have a good night.
So next item on the agenda is to discuss the May 3rd, 2025 Green Up Day preparation. Brad, you're going to kick
Yep.
that off?
So, Conservation Commission was talking about it, about, doing the same type of things we did last year. Don Toby giving a speech or doing a walk on tree identification for the kids and then the Conservation Commission, promoting the Crane Brook area. And then, in the past, we've done the barbecue, which has been pretty popular. I did check with CSWD about our community cleanup fund. So we have a full $5,000 available in that fund. And that needs to be spent by June. So, and then they replenish that, I believe, every year. Kind of talked to Bob a little bit, and I bounced the idea around maybe doing a tire roundup. The last time we did it was in 2000, and we did it right out here, and I've got pictures of it. We filled two, I don't know if those are 40-yard dumpsters, or these are monster dumpsters, like 12 feet tall, really long. We filled them, but
Well attended.
well attended, well appreciated. We did it during COVID. It was, and I got really nervous because they were all stacked in the back out there, and I remember asking Bob, and it's like somehow if they ever caught on fire, it'd be. So anyway, the guy that I can't remember if it was Gothiers or who it was that helped us with the dumpsters, he went back and got another one, and we filled it up. The trick with these dumpsters is they have to be hand stacked in there. So you open the end door, they have to be, if you just start pitching them in there, you're not going to fit as many. You can on the top, but they need to be stacked.
Makes sense.
So I think some of our prayers will be answered if we ask the scouts to get involved, that they love things like this because it counts towards their community service hours, and especially if you're going to provide hot dogs or something along those lines, they will even more be willing to
Make sure you got
volunteer their
a
time,
big
you know,
enough line
so
item for hot
I
dogs.
think if you have,
Triple
I think if you do that and you assign them like a 2-hour block for however long we're going to do this, I think they would be ecstatic and be more than willing to help out with that. No doubt in my mind. They just need to be asked. So if the board is on board with that, we can set that in motion.
I guess what I need to do is, and I should have looked back at what we had spent before.
I don't think it was, I want to say it was under $1,000 per dumpster. So I don't think it was, I don't think we spent more than $2,000 on that. And then it was like under $500 for all the hot dogs and buckets
Yeah,
and all
but
that.
if you're gonna do
So
the
it's like-
tire thing, it's gonna be pretty popular, I think. So people are gonna come, I would double your hot dog and hamburger budget because everybody's gonna come to
And
get
will
rid
that
of
be
their tires.
here or up at the town
We do it,
garage?
well, I could do it at the town garage. It's the only
Because
place
didn't
we
we
got
have-
enough room.
The hot dogs and stuff was at the town garage
Yeah.
last year? Yeah.
It's
We could
always,
do it across the street at at the park.
I don't think there's enough room there for traffic, and I don't think the town garage is.
Centralize it.
Town garage is fine, but what about like Casey's Hill? If it was more, I don't know if it's just another.
But then where are we gonna do we're trying to do this in conjunction with Green Up
Oh,
Day,
Right,
right?
right.
Town
So,
garage is probably the best.
Town garage is the best, people, there's,
And then it's the Crane Brook is right there
Yeah,
too.
that's the whole purpose.
Gets people
There's
to the
no-
garage. I
yeah.
think it's a great idea. to
Sure.
get
Yeah.
people out.
So I think
It's
a lot
also
of people,
opening day for the Little League baseball day.
right. So I
Good day
think
to be out and about.
a lot of people might not participate in Green Up Day, but they're gonna bring their tires.
Mhm.
So I think we need to have a separate dumpster for, we'll have to find out logistics, but tires that come off the side of the road should be different from residents' tires. So that's part of Green Up, right? What did we do? Did we have
We didn't get.
I don't think,
but we took tires to
Very few.
Williston, right?
Yeah.
We took a load, I think, not quite a load, but
That
it
wasn't much.
wasn't much.
Just
But
Some
anyway,
tires
we
have
need to be very
simple-
mindful
Would
of,
simplify it. I would simplify it. Just put Green Up Day tires in with a tire stack.
that's fine.
Just
Yeah.
simplify it.
It's fine. So I would try to tighten up the window on the tire thing, because if you let it go for, we did that during COVID and it was a huge
I
response.
think if you come up with a plan,
Okay,
we'll support it.
okay.
I don't think we need to get too far into the minutia as far as,
Okay,
but I trust like your ability to problem solve.
Yeah.
When it comes to this tire ordeal. And so I think that, if we can stay within the $5,000 for
Yeah.
our community fund, and
Well, you
and
strip
that the
it by
board
doing
can, support, the stuff for a barbecue. I think last time it was like $500. So if you think that it's going to,
it was
You know-
only a couple $100, or not even a couple $100.
so not to exceed $1,000. But by the time you order mustard, ketchup, propane, whatever you need, type of thing, I think that you'd probably be well.
So I'll work with Russ on the logistics. I think what we'll do is maybe if you got like fast paced, maybe we could make up a bunch of burgers and put them in a tinfoil thing and just have them all ready.
This would be a great time to get the town its own Blackstone.
I think it should stay at the garage.
Blackstone.
Yes.
A grill.
It's a griddle.
Oh,
It's like a propane powered grill.
Why don't you see about getting one?
I think that would be a great, you could, town could use it for anything,
Yeah.
For another event or something.
Exactly. I don't think it's a bad
And I
idea.
think that the road crew should make sure that it stays well seasoned and doesn't, fall into disrepair at all. Like, if you feel like there's, it needs to be exercised, you probably should do that.
Now we need a freezer.
Well, that's slow down, it's not in the budget.
Reel back in.
Exactly.
But I think if you guys can, if $1,000 seems reasonable, with a Blackstone, I think, you're a couple $100. I trust your judgment when it comes to Blackstone. I trust your judgment.
Well, this
when it comes
is, just to be clear for the record, we're not talking community cleanup funds for this. We're talking just, that's extra above and beyond.
Yes.
Community cleanup fund would be used for the dumpsters
For the
only.
dumpsters.
Right.
I just
Trash.
want that for the record. We're not buying a Blackstone.
Right, yeah.
Right, exactly. That's
Good
important.
point of
I will, one more question, Brian, to see what you think. I think the last time we did 8 tires per household.
I trust your judgment.
Does that sound reasonable? Okay,
Or somebody has an 18 wheeler.
well, they're out of
Go
luck.
to Cambridge.
Okay, so,
Be good with
One
that.
other
we'll plan on
point I
that.
make is that this is 3 days before the special town meeting. If we're getting people to the town garage, it's also another opportunity
great.
to educate about why
Oh,
we need.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure, there's like
Very-
signs up and reminders to come. and
Very
go.
good.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought about that too, but
Yeah.
maybe if we had a handout.
You put up,
There.
Maybe,
put up a kiosk.
Can you get one truck that looks really dilapidated?
Easy.
It's really smart.
Yeah, that's good
Yeah,
thinking.
good thinking.
you should get lettuce for the burgers.
Lettuce.
So, okay,
Cool.
wait a minute, we're at, I got a
It's
text.
great.
I mean, hang on a minute.
The
I
food
gotta
would
just-
probably love to be.
It would be,
honestly.
seriously.
Russ likes the tofu burgers,
Yes.
the non-meat substitute.
Don't pick on us vegetarians.
I'm just saying, Russ likes that.
So I would like to, I forgot to text Larry. I told him when we're getting close.
Mm,
Could we skip out of order and do the Board of Liquor Control?
I would love to.
Okay,
that sounds great.
So we have a couple things on the board of
just,
liquor control.
just a point of order, thing would be to pause the regular select board meeting, open the Board of Liquor Control to consider these two
Okay,
applications.
so I move that we pause the select board meeting in order to open the meeting for the Underhill Liquor Control Board. Is there a second to pausing the select board meeting at this time?
Second.
Second, any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor of pausing the select board meeting to convene the Underhill Liquor Control Board, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 4-0. It is now 7:04. We're going to pause the select board meeting, and I now am going to open the Underhill Liquor Control Board. On today's date is the 27th, and it is 7:05. We have 2 items to consider. One is for a liquor license for Wells Corner Market and Jacob's Son Market to continue to be licensed, needing approval. I assume that we are going to vote on them together. We're not going to separate them out.
No, I'd vote them together. It's fine.
I'm not seeing any opposition to that, so I'm going to move that we approve the liquor control license for both Wells Corner Market and Jacob's Son Market, both in the town of Underhill. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, are you ready for the question? All those in favor of approving the liquor control license for both Wells Corner Market and Jacob's Son Market, please please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed with a nay. Motion carries 4-0. Okay,
No,
I'm
no,
going to move that we close the Underhill Liquor Control Board and adjourn from the Liquor Control Board. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning the Liquor Control Board and going back to the Underhill Select Board meeting, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. So we are now in adjournment for the Underhill Liquor Control Board at 7:06. And I'm going to now move that we come back on the record for the Underhill Select Board. I'm going to move that we come back on the record for the Underhill Select Board at 7:07. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of continuing the Underhill Select Board meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. So now we're back on the record as a select board. And we're still waiting for Larry to come and tune in so we can go to the next item on the agenda would be to close the public comment period. I don't know if we want to do that until Larry has a chance to weigh in. So why don't we go to member items, or excuse me, review and approve the warrants and approve the minutes of the March 13th, 2025 regular meeting. So why don't we do that?
Sounds good.
So I've got a copy of the payroll warrant dated 3/27/2025. I move that we approve the payroll warrant. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor of approving the payroll warrant dated 3/27, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Hold on, Larry, we're gonna get through this and then we'll get right to you. Next, I'm gonna move that we approve the warrants dated 3/25. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor of approving the warrants dated 3/25/2025, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next and last is going to be to approve the select board meeting minutes for the March 13th, 2025 meeting. I move that we accept them as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Patty. All those in favor, is there any discussion? Ready for the question? All those in favor of approving the meeting minutes for the 13th of March meeting, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed with a nay. Motion carries 4-0. All right, so it is still the 27th. Larry is now here. Hi, Larry.
Hello.
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna turn up the volume a little bit. There we go.
Okay.
Excellent.
Can you
Thank
hear
you for
me?
joining.
I
Yep.
can hear you perfect.
Okay.
We danced around a little bit. Sorry you missed it, but we're now back to your item on the agenda, which was to consider a new hire for the planning commission, minute recording and authorize a grant application for the Vermont Department of Housing and Community Development for the planning commission. So here you are. So we'll let you have your several minutes of fame.
Okay. Well, let's start with the simpler one. I heard from Donna Griffiths, who's been writing up minutes for the Planning Commission and the DRB, and I guess other town boards as well for quite some time now, and has done a great job from what I understand. I heard from her towards the end of January, I guess, that she was feeling a bit burned out on the number of boards and commissions that she was asked to take minutes for, and asked to be relieved of the Planning Commission and the TRB responsibilities for note taking. And I then commenced, after checking with Brad about this and getting the go-ahead, I commenced a recruitment process, which was not very extensive. It was just basically putting out a notice on Front Porch Forum for Underhill, asking if there was anybody in the community who might be interested in taking on that role, with a very brief description of what it involved. And I heard from about maybe 4 or 5 individuals who expressed interest. And the ones who seemed like they were sincere and were able to follow through, I invited them to submit a resume and a writing sample. 2 of the candidates followed through with resumes and writing samples. And the one who seemed like she had the most relevant skills was an Underhill resident by the name of Monica Loscalzo. I think you have her resume there and her letter of application. And one of the things I thought would be helpful is to actually get, in addition to just a writing sample sort of plucked out of someone's portfolio, I asked both Monica and the other candidate who got that far to actually give me something that would be a write-up of like a trial write-up of meeting minutes. And so I forwarded the link to the meeting recordings for our March 6th and our March 20th meeting. And Monica followed up with really quite well-written minutes that were very close, if not right on point, to the format that we've been using for Planning Commission minutes. And, you know, her quality of her writing and the clarity of her capturing the gist of the meeting were excellent. And so I encouraged her to prepare the letter that you have before you to actually communicate directly with you about her interest. And I'm recommending her to be hired by the town. It's a very limited contract. I think we estimated that on average it would be in the range of 6 to 10 hours a month. And it's inclusive of both the Planning Commission and the DRB minutes. The DRB meets much less frequently than the Planning Commission does, but by taking those two responsibilities or tasks off Donna Griffith's plate, I feel like the town would be really helping to preserve the relationship that we have enjoyed with Donna's years of service and the excellent work that she does to allow that to continue, but then give somebody new a try for the DRB and for the Planning Commission. So that's about all I have to say about that.
Question? I see in Monica's letter to Brad, her request for $25 per hour. What's Donna being paid right now?
Let's see.
$24.72.
Okay.
I thought they were all, I believe you, I was under the understanding that of the part-time employees were all getting 25.
I thought that too, but I don't know. I can't tell you where that number came up. I'm not going to ask Donna to,
Well, no, but I'm going to look at Maureen and look at Patty, but that was my understanding that, and if I feel they should be equal, no question, but I'm just wondering, like, do we need to go, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but here I am, looking at this retroactively, because it was really my understanding that we were paying Donna $25 an hour, not 24, whatever.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at, but I think I'm thinking of like our budget for next year, not what's current.
No, I think what Bob's referring to is a action you took several years ago for any part-time employee, even highway crew, I think.
Right. So I think that for all intents and purposes, why don't we put that as a placeholder? And revisit that whole question about Donna. But I do think that if we are going to, for the sake of argument, that we should be paying $25 an hour. But I do think that we should be paying them both the same.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I think that we can go back and revisit, and if we need to catch up with Donna for the extra 50 cents an hour that we had, reluctantly or forgot that we were supposed to pay, then I think we should do the right thing.
I agree.
Agreed.
So that was a lot to say. So I think we should hire Monica. So I'm going to move.
Go ahead.
So I'm going to move that we hire Monica to help out with note taking for the DRB and for the zoning commission. Is there a second? Planning commission. I'm sorry.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
The funds will come out of what line item? It'll be the planning and zoning line item?
Yep.
Larry said he was going to take it out of petty cash. He's going to draw it full of it. That people put money in, he's just going to take it out.
No,
of
it's fine.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah. There's plenty of money.
There's not a drawer full of cash in your
Plenty of
desk
money
drawer
in there.
anymore. They took that away.
And the anticipation was a maximum of 10 hours a month, or is it sort of flex? It's still like, was there an upper end that had been determined?
I'd say whatever is needed.
Okay.
The planning commission meets twice a month. The DRB may meet twice in 1 month. They may not meet for 2 months. So,
Okay, so it's not like up to a certain amount.
no,
It's
I would just do whatever.
Just
I
set
would-
at the hourly rate.
I'd set the hourly
Okay.
rate and that's it.
Got it.
Needed, it's needed.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, you ready for the question? All those in favor of hiring Monica, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you to Monica for reaching out to them.
Absolutely. Larry, do you want to reach out to Monica and spread the goodwill or the the joy?
I will let her know. Thank you. Yes.
All right. And then was there anything else that we needed to take action with? Oh, the, whatchamacallit here, the
Municipal
grant.
planning grant.
Yes. So I can talk about that, or I can just answer questions. It's kind of up to you how you want to proceed. I realize that the town has had some history with working with the State Agency of Commerce and Housing Development on different grant projects, most recently related to the Harvest Crossing project. But this is a different kind of an ask and a process, and I want to make sure that you all are understand the big picture that I'm working with here, and also that you have a sense of next steps if this grant application is authorized and I apply and as planned and it's funded. What's the arc of events following a grant award?
I have a quick question. I emailed you about it. You had asked, the select board signed page 2 of the resolution. So was it your understanding that regional planning would serve as the agent, or I'm just trying to get some clarification why that needs to be signed?
It actually needs to be signed regardless of whether regional planning serves as agent or not. I know it's a little confusing from the form, but I've done this application for 2 other towns, for Bolton and for Charlotte, and in both cases the state wanted select board not only to pass a resolution to support the application, but also to sign off on it in that way. And no, I don't think it's actually helpful or necessary for regional planning to do the admin end of the, basically it's a fairly small grant, and it's a very limited bookkeeping to keep track of the funds. And so I'm assuming that would just be added to the work that Jennifer already does on the town's behalf to track different funding sources and expenses.
So you will not check that box, because by checking that box, it says that your regional planning commission will serve as the agent, or you're in some sort of a consortium. So we will not be checking that box, but you'll be having the select board sign that.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for asking that to clarify.
Do you have a Gears login? Or probably you'll need one for Underhill.
Yes, I'm going to take care of that tomorrow morning. Make sure that all works.
Larry, in your experience, these grants, is it your opinion that it's highly likely we would get this?
Well, I'll just say that I'm 2 for 2 in applying for this particular grant program on behalf of other towns I've worked for. And I also have a very strong collaborative working relationship with Jacob Hemrick, who's the director of the program that evaluates the grants and makes the awards. For what that's worth, it may not be worth much, but it is a competitive grant program. And it really depends on how many applications come in and what the strengths are. Another thing that I think we'd have going in our favor is thematically, I think the topic fits really well with the work that the state is pushing right now and that the Regional Planning Commission is involved in. And I think I mentioned that or described that in the introduction memo that I wrote to you. It's really timely for Underhill to be sort of going back to the well of the overall broad intention of making the Riverside Flats state designated village district, to think about the future of that and think about the boundaries of that district as they stand now and perhaps as they should be going forward, because that's exactly part of what the Regional Planning Commission has been tasked with through the process that's unfolding from the legislature's passage of Act 181 last year, where this was the big Act 250 reform bill, and part of that is that they directed regional planning commissions to work with each municipality in their regions to identify housing targets that each town would be comfortable in being accountable for going forward, and they're not going to be trivial targets. They're going to be significant goals to build new housing, and for better or worse, in a rural community, having adequate water and wastewater infrastructure in place is essential to making projects that will be affordable to people in the missing middle, to working families and elders and others who currently lack housing opportunities. It's really important to have that municipal infrastructure in place to make it possible to build housing that working people can afford. So Underhill is going to have a piece of that action one way or the other in terms of having goals set with us and for us through this process that I was just talking about. And so it's a very, I think, very timely for us to say, hey, let's look at the goal that we have firmly embedded in our current town plan, which is that we want to direct development towards established village centers, and think about how we could accommodate that kind of development, what kind of infrastructure might be needed. And really the very first question is, do the residents of Underhill really want that type of more intensive development in that part of town? This is the core value here, is smart growth. And that you'll find that language in the town plan, you'll find it in the regional plan, you'll find it in state statute. And the basic theme is that if we don't allow appropriate levels of housing and commercial development in our villages and downtowns, it tends to sprawl out into the countryside. And I think it's what I've seen so far in my work in Underhill, was certainly true in Charlotte and in Bolton as well, is that residents really value the rural character of the town, value the open spaces, value the forest habitat and the wildlife values, and having a vibrant local agricultural sector. So all those things are at risk if we don't allow development where it's appropriate to develop, which is to say where there already is significant village that mixed uses and housing, commercial, and other types of uses in the village center. And those of you who have studied the town's zoning district map understand that although the Riverside Underhill Flats district does span the town line between Jericho and Underhill, most of it is in Jericho. Only a very small slice of Underhill along Park Street and up a little bit, up Route 15 a little bit, is considered part of the state designated village district. And so part of the inquiry that we'd be making with hiring a consultant, if this grant is funded, would be to do a deep dive through public outreach and engagement with broad swaths of residents in town, people who are affiliated with various community organizations, with faith communities, with schools, communities, and volunteer and civic organizations, as well as through surveys and town hall type meetings and focused conversations, to really identify, beyond that general principle of promoting development in the village center in the Riverside Flats district, how do people feel about what types of housing, additional housing would be appropriate there, multifamily, townhouses, single family dwellings, accessory dwelling units, just to really assess people's comfort level with that, and really try to build a base of support for the concept of not just growth, but what kinds of growth that people would be comfortable supporting there. And, I'll just close by saying that a large part of my thinking on this was very heavily influenced by my experience working in Charlotte, which is a different kind of community than Underhill. But we got one of the almost identical type of grant that I wrote, which was funded by the state, and it was leveraged by an additional $70,000 in funding that the regional planning provided, and we spent an entire year, 2024, going through that public outreach and engagement process, asking those exact same questions. And we established that about 90% of residents in Charlotte were in favor of further developing the town's two historic village centers. But there was a very loud, very vocal, and very persistent group of a small group of folks who might be characterized as NIMBYs. if you've heard that term before, who loudly objected to the notion that there would be any development whatsoever allowed in the two village centers as provided for in the town plan. And by having gone through this process of proving that there was a strong base of support in the town, we were able to counter that rather vehement opposition and say that, well, it's you're entitled to your opinion, but most people in town favor this, and it's not just up to the handful of people who speak out loudly against development to make the decisions on behalf of the whole town. So I very much want to position Underhill that, to ask the hard questions about what kind of development people would favor, where it should go, which might include expanding the current boundaries of that designated historic or village district in the Flats area. And, what are the constraints? What are the opportunities that we might have if we decided to pull the trigger and pursue more municipal infrastructure that would allow that kind of development to happen and make it financially feasible for developers and property owners to build that kind of housing that we said we wanted. So that's the rationale. I'm sorry to be a little long-winded about it, but I wanted to make sure you understood this was step one.
Larry, can you hold? Do we have some grounding material already?
So let's the reality of the situation, and I agree with what Larry's the premise of the whole, the whole theme or the whole goal of what we're trying to do here, and the state is forcing us into this with Act 181. Do we want to expand our village centers? The reality is, Underhill is very different from Jericho. We don't have a lot of space to grow.
Right.
You can look at the corridor down Park Street. What do you see? You see a cemetery.
Exactly.
You see a small area on Harvest Run with a flooding problem. You see some apartments on everything. You go down on the Jacob side of Park Street is essentially, the exception of a small sliver, is Jericho. So then you come around the corner and you've got Route 15. You've got on the west side wetlands in the creek down the back. You do have some space for some small infilling. Mm-hmm. Then the question would be, would you want Meadow Lane to look different, right? Again, we have municipal water. We do not have municipal sewer. It would take municipal sewer to try and infill that to a maximum capacity. Again, you're dealing with VTrans. You're dealing, and every time you increase the volume of any driveway up 15, VTrans is involved. So how Jericho gets away with it, I don't know, but every time we're going to have to deal with that, and then the traffic on 15 is already large enough. Then if you say, well, okay, maybe the way to expand is down River Road, right? You've got 2 farmers down there, 3 farmers. And I think Larry's approach at the public outreach is great. If these people aren't interested in seeing further development, I don't see how you can say that it's suitable for for future development. I suppose you could. And then I caution a little bit with, Larry and I went down and had a nice meeting with the town of Jericho. They're in a situation where they're proposing a lot of dense development, and they're going to need a municipal wastewater system. There's no way they're going to be able to house what they're trying to do without a municipal wastewater system. They'd love for us to tag along and take up a majority of the price tag. So it seems to me I'm fully supportive of this opportunity that Larry wants to do. But I think the main question is how much space is there? How much room is there? If we wanted to max it out, what's the potential?
Well, I think there's more potential once you start to leave the current Underhill Flats. Once you get beyond Poker Hill, then it starts to open up some. Because then you start to get into the Hill Farm, and you start looking at Silly Hill. And I think there is potential for the town to grow in that area of Underhill. You're not going to be able to grow between Route 15 and Poker Hill because of the swamp. But we have not even begun to tap into, once the Rawson family, no longer farms, there's a lot of potential of what, may happen, unless it's put into conservation, of what's going to happen on Silly Hill.
Yeah, so I've never seen a municipal wastewater system that would attempt to come from Underhill Flats and go up there.
Correct.
But
But I agree with you, like, where else is it going to go when you're talking about the flats, unless you're going to, like you said, you're going to reimagine what, behind the fire station is going to look like.
well, so behind the fire station is going to be built out. Once the affordable housing project is done, that's it.
Right, but the development that's already there.
Oh, you're saying Meadow Lane. Yeah, that's a potential. I just have one quick question, Larry. Is Jericho applying for the same grant? We're not in any, this is not a collaborative effort. I just want that for the record.
It's not collaborative. It's not set up that way. It's probably worth a quick conversation with Chris Sheehan about that. I do know that Jericho, and when Brad referred to the meeting that we had at the town hall with the town administrator there and Chris Sheehan, the town planner, and they did, so they got state funding for what's called a preliminary engineering study for that wastewater system that Brad referenced. And they did tell us that they intend to proceed with the next step, which is an engineering of a system that followed from the results of that study, what the recommendations came out in that 300-page study. And they did propose a potential cost share if that system is built, of Jericho assuming 90% of the cost of the bonding. That would be where the municipal responsibility for that cost. And then Underhill could assume 10% of the cost, with some of the capacity of that built system coming with that level of commitment. But those decisions are way off in the future. Jericho may or may not get the state grant funding that it's seeking to do the engineering for a new system, much less the funding that would follow, that they would also apply for state funding to actually build that system. And the towns, if it were built, would only be responsible for the balance of those costs. And the state is actually looking, if you've been following some of the conversation in Montpelier this session, the governor has proposed putting significantly more dollars into state assistance to municipalities to build municipal wastewater infrastructure in the couple of years going forward. So all these things are way up in the air right now. I think that really we're trying to start in this particular proposal is, let's talk to our neighbors. Let's bring members of the community together in a very focused way and ask open-ended questions about what kind of growth people are comfortable with in Underhill, what kinds of housing they think are most needed, what kinds of perhaps add-on municipal services or public services might be needed to accommodate that growth. We need to understand what are the environmental constraints, which Brad was just ticking off some of those, that would limit growth or limit where growth can go. All those questions, I think, need to be answered before we can get to a clear picture of what we want to propose for phase 2, phase 3, phase 5, phase 7. And these are all things that are worth exploring. If we put in this grant application and it were funded and we did this inquiry and come to find out that most people in Underhill do not want this type of intensive growth in the village center, that's an answer that we need to deal with and accept that that's what people are seeing and saying. But if the decision is, if we have to have more growth in Underhill, we'd like to see it in and nearby the village. And we've identified what are the constraints, what are the opportunities, what are the desired types of housing and commercial development that people would like to see. Probably a lot of it will be infill development in the back parts of existing lots behind houses that are in place and businesses that are in place. And what mix of services and so forth would make sense given increasing the housing stock in that area. And then we'll see what happens from there. The town might decide to pursue a more aggressive strategy. It might decide to redraw the lines of the village district, or it might decide to take a much more modest approach with limited infill housing allowed, and make sure that we just tweak the zoning regulations to allow that. Those decisions are all in the future once we find out which way the winds are blowing among the residents. That's the core of this fairly modest project.
Thank you. So the question before us is whether or not we're going to look into doing this municipal resolution for a municipal planning grant. Are there any other questions before we get to that, or for Larry before we dive into that?
I just had a quick clarification question in terms of the sort of seeking the public response of growth. Is it specifically around housing and residential growth, or is there also a component about commercial and like economic development? Of, like,
I would say, yeah, good question. It's not really focused on economic development per se. What I will say from my experience in Bolton and Charlotte is that what we know about vibrant Vermont villages is that they do tend to have a lot of mixed uses. For example, you might have a store or an accounting office or a hair salon on the first floor, and then you have one or two apartments on the second floor. And those kinds of mixed uses in traditional village centers in the context of historic or rehabilitated properties that are adaptive reuses from what's already there, it tends to be pretty accepted and popular and appropriate, and it doesn't feel like it's a real departure from what's already there, sort of more of the same. So I think that's mostly what I've heard people want in these other projects that I've done, and I would be very surprised if it was any different in Underhill.
Okay, thank you.
And mine is question. So bottom line for us is that there would be up to a $2,500 match for the town to make if we receive the grant.
Yes. And that the match amount is the last chunk of grant funds or the last chunk of funds that would be expended in a project like this. And I don't know if you saw the time frame at the bottom of the memo, but those funds would not be payable until spring 2027, 2 years from now. So certainly not within the current fiscal year or even the next one, perhaps, or the end. It's a ways off in the future.
And Larry, if we didn't get the grant, for some reason, would the planning commission still want to do the same work?
It's a great question. I think that I heard pretty strong buy-in and a resolution of support when we talked about this at the planning commission meeting last Thursday. I think you make do with what you have, and the select board made a decision before I was hired that my position would be essentially 1 to 2 day a week position, capped at 15 hours for the at least to start. And I have certainly had experience doing this kind of work. There's only so much I can do in a 2 day work week. So I think it would be possible to do some public outreach. It's certainly not as focused and with as much outside assistance as what's contemplated in this application.
At this stage, we're just being asked about the grant. We're not being asked to fund the project if the grant doesn't.
You don't even, if this is just an application, even if you were awarded, you got another step to accept the grant. So, but if you are to consider this, I'll let you go, Bob.
So I think we're at the point where we can make an informed decision on whether or not we want to go forward with this grant. I think we've asked a lot of questions, a lot of good questions. And Larry has been great. Thank you, Larry, for answering a lot of our questions and very informative. But I think we're ready to put this out as far as whether or not the board feels comfortable going after this municipal grant or not. So if that's true, then I would move that we proceed forward with applying for the fiscal year 2025 municipal resolution for a municipal planning grant as presented in the packet.
Well, I think,
But there's several components in that. So
I'm going to fill it out as we go along here.
So I'm going to say, the first one is that we would authorize, I'll put my name in as the first one, that Bob, the chair of the select board, would be act as
I don't think you want to do that one.
No, I think we're gonna put your name in.
Yeah, you're gonna.
I think we're gonna say,
You don't
Brad, you'd be
wanna-
well suited at that. We're gonna need Brad Holden as the town administrator to be the designated and to serve as the municipal authorizing official for the grant electronic application and reporting systems gears and to execute the grant agreement and other such document as may be necessary to secure these funds. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, are you ready for the question? All those in favor of naming Brad as the official, designating Brad as the municipal authorizing official for the grant electronic application and reporting system gears and to execute the grant agreement and other such documents as may be necessary to secure these funds, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 4-0.
I think we're gonna leave, how do you feel about leaving the alternate out? Larry, I don't think that's necessary.
It's not really, it's mostly just if were unavailable to sign something on short notice, that kind of thing.
No, but I would say that for the next part, just as a grant administrator, I would recommend you put Larry's name in there, correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
We'll ask Larry be the designated grant administrator. And that person will have overall administrative responsibility for the municipal planning grant program activities related to the application and any subsequent grant agreement provisions. I move that we do that. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, are you ready for the question? All those in favor of naming Larry as indicated on 3C in the application as the overall administrative response, the grant administrator, the person that has the overall administrative responsibility for the municipal planning grant program activities related to the application and any subsequent grant agreement provisions, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
So I'm just gonna, I've got it filled out here. So Larry, I'm gonna kind of cross out this rural towns consortia part and have them sign underneath.
Great.
Okay, and I will email this to you tomorrow.
Good.
And so past this 27th day of March.
Yeah.
2025. So there's, so everybody could just sign, stab at signing that.
Okay.
Okay. Is that everything?
I think that's everything.
Larry, I
Larry,
think
thank you for making yourself available tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Excited.
Larry.
Thanks, Larry. Thank you for all
Thanks
your
for
hard
supporting
work.
this project. I appreciate it. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Always interesting.
All right.
all right.
I'll sign off
So
now.
that- Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good night.
So the next thing is the closing public comment period. There's no one here except for the members of the board, Russ and Brad. I don't see anyone virtually, so in the cat.
Okay.
No comments from the
Doesn't
chat.
say much. All right, so we've done that. We've reviewed and approved the warrants. Member items, correspondence, announcements scheduled. The next regular select board meeting is scheduled for the 10th of April.
So I'll talk about schedule here. So I do have, I believe, some people on the queue for the April 10th. Oh no, that got moved. Those CSWD I thought was going to come in, but I think they're going to come in May. So, but if you wanted to do, I think maybe what we could do is if the weather looked favorable, if you wanted to do a site visit to the cemetery at 6, we could do that.
On the 10th?
On the 10th?
Yeah, if the weather looked favorable.
Well, we normally meet at 6, so you want to meet there at 6? Or do you want to meet, or can we meet earlier? or do
You could
want-
meet earlier, but I don't know how your schedules are, so.
Meet there at 5:30.
So you can do it.
I can do it.
As long as Joan is not out of town. I think I can, depending.
Well,
I think that should be fine.
Well, let
Either
us,
way, I can get
let
it
us,
there.
let us know if it doesn't, if 5:30 doesn't work. Because we have to ask Dan too. If it doesn't work, then we can figure another time out, or maybe we'll just go up there at 6. So
I think it's easier just to go up at 6. Everybody's planning on being here at 6. That's just
Okay,
fine.
yeah.
We got
And
plenty
hopefully
of
the
daylight.
Belsons will be available then too.
Yeah, well, I'll
Yeah.
see if I can
Okay.
figure it out. If I do it out on the page.
So we're gonna, you wanna warn that you wanna meet here and then go up? Or do you wanna meet, where do you wanna meet and park? Cause you can't drive up there, right? You're gonna have to walk it.
Yeah,
up
we
from-
should carpool, and I could actually make arrangements to park up at, Williamson's, rental property, so
Okay,
I'll do that.
all right.
I can take the extra seats out of the
What do I
script.
do with that other
Fit almost
page?
everybody. Which page?
Did I-
The first page?
Yeah, this one here on my, yeah.
That I filled out?
Yeah, there
Okay,
was some
yeah,
crowd on the
sorry.
top.
All right, so anybody have anything correspondence wise, announcements?
I have one thing. Maureen was upset that I only had one thing on my,
I was disappointed. I love hearing from you.
I don't know if it's necessary, but I feel the right to say something to you folks, but I feel I owe you all an apology. I had an accident back about a month ago with one of the town dump trucks down in Williston at Viking Surveys before we get our equipment put on. It was a small accident. I ended up backing into a van down there. Did some damage. I came right back here, met with Sherry, did the insurance process, did all that. Jennifer, Sherry, Brad, Mandy were all here. We took care of all that stuff, and then I never told you folks. I didn't do it on purpose. I wasn't hiding anything, but it was. I did have I had a good discussion with Bob about it. He's one of the board, and I just feel that you put a lot of respect and trust into me, and I did go right after that conversation. So I just want to apologize to you all for that. Not really miscommunication or not communicating the way I normally do. So
I think that we need to, not because of this event, but I think that we need to consider policy as it relates to, when there's an event where we cause damage or there's damage to our equipment or infrastructure or anything like that, that the board become aware of that, simply because, from my perspective, is that I don't know that necessarily our go-to is always going to be to try to have insurance cover it. Or do we want to try to cover it out of a line item to take care of the damage and save our insurance? And Sherry was asked, and I know she's working on it, I know she's been busy too, so look into and get back to the board as far as, would there be any change in premium dollars if we were to adjust the, deductible? So, not that, not from nothing else but to look at, should we save our insurance for when we do have something more catastrophic than, say, a couple $1,000s? I don't want to minimize what happened. I'm just saying, we should sometimes be able to absorb a few $1,000s versus, putting in a claim for something.
That's probably a topic we should add to a future
I think
agenda
so.
when,
Right.
because we're getting a little bit off
Right.
the topic here, but,
But we did talk about that before, and I think you're right. But thank you.
I will bring up
Glad
one
everyone's
thing, one thing I have, so I will be, Mike Wise and I will be going to District 5, V-Trans tomorrow morning. I'm gonna meet with the new district manager, Dave Hosking. Gotta be related to Dick Hosking, I gotta believe, who was past district manager a long time ago. Anyway, so we're gonna get news on the structures grant, how the paving grants might look. So we just want to go down and meet them in person. We're going to explain where we're at in the whole bonding process.
Maureen brought up a great idea that we should consider bringing in some pie or something for those folks down there to make sure that they're
We could probably do that.
they're sweet, or get something so that they remember us.
I don't know a V-Trans guy that doesn't like a good donut. So.
Right. I want to consider, keeping the people at V-Trans happy, type of thing.
Yeah, I like that, Bob. Thanks.
Don't they have rules that they can't accept?
I've never seen an AOT guy refuse a cup of coffee or.
In the electricity industry, we couldn't buy a cup of coffee for the regulators. It was like,
Actually,
really?
we're not supposed to accept any gift that's over.
It was hardcore. It was like they were not allowed to accept a cup of
Or
coffee.
it's just a
from
donut.
us.
I mean, it's not,
Yeah.
that's right, it's not like you're handing out,
Hardcore.
tickets to a ball game. For God's sake.
It's a donut.
It's a donut. But anyway,
So, okay.
do what you think is right, Brad. I
Excellent.
don't want to make you uncomfortable.
Oh.
The only other thing that I think that, I don't know if we want to discuss this or not, Patty, but we received a correspondence from a resident as it relates to the library. And I don't know if we should read that in the record or if we should, bring that up at a future meeting.
It wasn't, we didn't receive it in time for the packet, so typically what we've done with correspondence like that is take it up next time.
Okay, so we do have the board has received a letter. I think we'll respond that we have received and acknowledged the letter and that we will discuss it at a future meeting to be held if we have time.
Next
in the next scheduled meeting, if that's,
Yeah, I think that's appropriate.
but we can definitely acknowledge it and say,
Yeah, I think we should respond to the resident, Underhill resident that brought up an issue with that taking place at
and
the.
we might be able to even invite the director of the library to our next scheduled meeting as well, so that they can be here to be part of that conversation.
Bad idea.
All right.
Okay. Anything else?
I'll warn that I am in Denver at a conference for the 424 meeting. I won't be here.
On April 24th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not to make you feel bad, but Dan came in from Paris. Was it Paris? Greece. Just so you know.
Okay.
Not to be
I-
not to be an
No
overachiever or anything like that. No pressure, but
I did have the wait a minute, Denver, 2 hours ahead, after, could I do it?
we always.
And actually, I'll be out of town that meeting too, but I think I could do it, remotely. So,
We asked him to take a picture of something while he was enjoying a
To prove it.
proof, the nice glass of something, I think he had a picture of wasn't the Eiffel Tower in the background or something like that, he chimed in, it was 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that, so
That's a real commitment.
life's tough, so you don't need to do that.
By the pool, wasn't he? Down by the
Something like that. Yeah.
2 in the morning, I think.
He was a good sport about it. You don't have to be.
I wouldn't do it. Just be honest.
All right, well, it was Dan's favorite part of the time, but maybe it's your favorite time you move to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Well, we don't really discuss adjournment, so we'll just go right to it. All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:55. We are ahead of